everybody, my name is Kai. I'm a professional cosplayer, and Starfest has brought me out to talk to all of you today. I'm doing 4 panels this weekend really quick before I get jumped into it. There's another one tonight at 9 o'clock, which is posing in a hallway. So I give away prizes and stuff for that one too. And then I've got one tomorrow, and that is convention horror stories. And believe me, as a professional cosplayer, I have some scary stories. And then the last one is on Sunday, and it's bright and early in the morning, so you really don't have to come if you don't want to, because it's 9 a.m. And it's everything you need to know about cosplay. I'll give away all my secrets. But this one is the Cosplay Survival Kit. Yay! So, really quick, at the beginning of this cosplay panel, I like to go over etiquette very briefly. Come on in, take a seat. Haven't even properly gotten started yet. When you go to a convention, there are do's and do nots. And my 3 do's and my 3 do nots go together very well. 6 rules, and you'll get along fine. You ready for it? Do ask permission is the first one. Ask permission before you take pictures. Ask permission before you touch people. Ask permission before you touch props, because I'm pretty sure we all hold them together with chewing gum, twine, and a little bit of hope. And so do ask permission. Do bathe. It's time to take showers, ladies and gentlemen. If you're very eco-conscious, you can take showers with other people. Save water. But do make sure that you bathe. I also use Febreze on my costumes. Just Febreze them and take them outside and wave them around a little bit, and they smell much better than they should. And then the last of my do's is do introduce yourself. Conventions are great big social gatherings for nerds. And a lot of times I meet people and I go, "Hi, I'm Kai." "Hi, I'm Kai." "Hi, I'm Elizabeth." "Nice to meet you." "Hi." See, she said her name back. Usually I start off with, "Hi, I'm Kai." And they're like, "Hi." And I'm like, I'm never gonna recognize you ever again. Thanks. So if you introduce yourself, this magical thing happens. It's called friendship. We are all nerds. We all have something in common. So make new friends. Introduce yourself. Have fun. Do nots. You ready for these? These are the big kahunas. Do not stop in hallways. If you are taking a picture, do not walk between the photographer and the person taking the picture, because they'll stay there forever. And you've seen it happen in this hallway here, this big long hallway. It's a pain in the butt if anybody stops, because you're like, nope, somebody's coming. Nope, somebody's coming. Okay, making a break for it. But try not to stop in hallways, try not to stop in public thoroughfares. If you need to talk to somebody, pull them off to the side, squish to the walls won't bite, I think. I haven't checked at this hotel yet, I'll let you know. So do not get between photographers and their pictures, and do not stand in the hallways. And the last, do not touch people unless they ask for it. Do not glomp, do not, pull them aside if they're about to be run down by an angry bull or something, but otherwise, make sure that you ask before you touch. See, asking. I love giving hugs. I'm a very huggy person, and a lot of the time I will start going in for a hug, and you see that person going, and they don't want to be rude, but they really don't want the hug. So that's something that I still have to work on sometimes myself. So do not just touch people. Ask. You can ask like, huh? And then you don't have to use words. You can ask any way you want. Just make sure that you ask. So that's my basics of etiquette. I hope we all learned something. If anything else, you learned that I'm weird. This is the Cosplay Survival Kit. One of my favorite questions that people ask me all the time is all, mostly in the Convention Horror Stories panel, they're like, "So what all goes wrong?" And I laugh a little and I go, everything. Everything goes wrong all the time. How many of you have ever been to a convention and your wig fell off? Yup. How many of you have ever been to a convention and a seam ripped or a button wouldn't stick, or things are falling off your costumes and you're sweating profusely and your makeup is melting down your face, and we've all had some kind of cosplay faux pas. So the Cosplay Survival Kit is something that I have coined the term for. I am selling them at my table as well, $20, and half of the proceeds go to the Children's Hospital, but you can just donate to the Children's Hospital too, you don't have to buy stuff. What was I saying? Cosplay Survival Kits. Yes, I coined this term. They are meant to keep you alive on the convention floor. You go to a con and they're busy and they're crowded and hotels can be massive. Or you're at a convention center and that's massive and far away from your hotel. And so it's not always easy to fix things because you've got your sewing machine and your hot glue gun in your hotel room, but what about in the meantime? The Cosplay Survival Kit is designed to hold you together long enough to get you to your hotel room so that you can fix things properly. Come on in. So I'm going to go ahead and start off. I'm going to be talking about a lot of things. At the end of this panel, I'm going to be giving away the bandana. If you can answer a question for me, so pay attention. The winner can also opt not to get the bandana and we'll get a free print instead. So, first thing first, this is a bag. Ooh, can I get some ooh? Ah, yes. Thank you. This bag was $1 at Walmart. Yeah. Your Cosplay Survival Kit does not have to be an expensive item. The only reason that I charge $20 for mine is because I donate half the proceeds and $10 covers everything. So I can make more and I make absolutely nothing off of selling these. That's great. Bags, $1 at Walmart. You can use a backpack, but the only thing is with backpacks, sometimes your costume, it's a little bulky. With one of these, whenever somebody walks up and goes, "Can I have a picture?" I go, "Yeah." Perfect, right? A tote is really easy to set down and set aside. It's also got long enough handles that you can wear it over your wrist and keep it out of the way. So I prefer tote bags. There are tote bags with longer handles. You can get one of them too. Backpacks, drawstring bags, any kind of bag. But you need something to put the kit in. This is also handy for holding your cell phone and wallet and other things while you are wearing your costumes. Ooh. Thank you. So, the bag. Next up on my list, I have the bandana. I swear by bandanas. There are like a million uses for them, and I keep finding more and more uses for bandanas as I go through my convention career. And I have really cool bandanas in all my bags, so I like picking out the fun ones. When you are at a convention and you have a costume with little pieces on it, for example, I had an armor cosplay, and it had little fangs on the shoulder pad, and those things would not stick to those shoulder pads for anything. So, as they kept falling off, and as I kept having to go back up to my room to glue them back on, I wrapped them in my bandana so they were always conveniently located. This is really good for small things, wrapping them up. This is if you go into the dealer's hall and you buy some jewelry and they just give it to you instead of giving you a nice little plastic baggie, you can wrap it in a bandana so it gets less tangled and there's less chance of you breaking it. Glass figures, things like that as well. When you're sweaty and you need to dab your face off without melting your makeup or covering your hands in like purple goop, I cosplay Lulu from League of Legends. I paint myself purple, and sometimes I rub my nose and my hand is covered in goop and I'm wearing gloves on my hands, so I'm like... So a bandana to keep that makeup off my hands is great. And like I said, I keep finding more and more uses. I'm sure you guys can think of a few extras. These also make convenient ropes in some cases. So like if you're wearing a sword with a scabbard and it snaps off and you can do the thing where you, bam, rope! So I saw somebody do that once and I was like, that's the most ingenious thing I've ever seen. So bandana, your convenient prize if you so wish. The next thing on my list is this little container has bobby pins in it. Ooh. Bobby pins and safety pins are the most important things that people ask me for. Unfortunately, I don't like selling sharp objects to people, so there are no safety pins in here. You'll have to get your own. But there are bobby pins, which are good for holding on your wigs. They're good for keeping bangs out of your face, because these annoy the crap out of me. So I'll just take bobby pins halfway through the day, and I'm like, and then safety pins for holding things together. If you rip a seam and it's just a little rip, you can, hoist it up, and right under here I've got a seam. I can shove a safety pin in there, and then it's gonna hold it for me, and I don't have to go back up to my hotel room to stitch it up right away. Safety pins are your best friend. They're really good for holding things together. And this little container can not only hold safety pins and bobby pins, but it is conveniently sized to hold your ibuprofen, Advil, and Aleve. I like you guys. You're getting into it. I like this. Next thing on my list is tape. I also have glue on the list, but I do not buy glue for you, because there are different kinds of glues. So I'm going to start with tape, and then I'm going to cover glue. This is electrical tape. Electrical tape is amazing for fabric. There are fabric-specific tapes. They're really expensive. They're not worth it. Just putting that out there. Electric tape. One roll of this stuff. It cuts really easily. You can cut it with your keys or just pull it with your teeth. And then it doesn't leave goop behind on your fabric. Duct tape will leave goop behind when you peel it off your fabric. But you can use this to hold a small seam as well if you don't have safety pins, or if it's a longer rip but it's still along a seam, you can tape it together. You can, pull a rip together and tape on the back, and it'll hold it enough for you to get to your hotel room and properly fix it. But any kind of tape in your bag can come in really handy. I have had people come up and they're vendors, and they come up and they're like, wait, that's tape? There's tape in that bag? There's tape right there? I'll buy one for the tape. And I'm like, okay. And then they take my tape and they use it to hold up their signs and banners and stuff like that. But you can also volunteer it. This comes in handy for vendor friends, artist friends, and for your friends when they bring things. As far as glue goes, there are many different kinds of glue. I prefer to put a little bit of super glue. Super glue has these little, you twist the tab off the top and it's like a one-size serving. I love those. I get a whole bunch of those. And I put 3 or 4 in my bag at any given time. And I go with it. And I have had a friend who had made her own earrings or bought earrings from the dealer's hall. And the front parts fell off the backs. And I was like, oh, no problem. And she was like, oh. And I was like, I know, right? Those little claws that kept falling off. Every now and again, I'd stop and be like, here's the glue. So the glue comes in really handy. You do have to sit still while it's working, but it sets in about 5 minutes. There's a fabric glue called Liquid Stitch, which takes forever to sit. But if you don't have your sewing machine or it's impractical for you to bring it, for example, I'm going to South Dakota later this year, and I am not bringing my sewing machine to South Dakota on an airplane. So I'm going to bring Liquid Stitch, and if I rip a seam, I'm going to, put the Liquid Stitch on and set it aside and let it set. It sets overnight. It's good to go the next day. Works just as good as a seam. And then, for your handy-dandy, teeny-tiny sewing needs, this little black box is actually open. A sewing kit. Ooh, I like this. This is fun. In the sewing kit, there are pins, there are tweezers, there are scissors, a needle threader, a safety pin, 3 needles, 2 snaps, 2 buttons, and a small variety of thread. You can also pick up a really quick, cheap sewing kit from the front desks at hotels. If you go up and you go, hi, I need a sewing kit, they will hand you one. They have them. They're free. But this one was $1 at Michael's. Ooh. I just like making you guys do that. So now I have a question. How many of you guys have ever gotten blisters? How many of you have ever ended up with cuts? How many of you have ever had a headache at a con? Oh boy, look at all those hands. This is a first aid kit. This is $1 at Walmart. It has Band-Aids and cleansing wipes. It has gauze, and if you get the larger one for $4, it's not much larger. It's like that much bigger. not too bad. It also has ibuprofen, burn ointment for your hot glue burns, and it comes with gauze pads and a cold pack as well. So a first aid kit is not helpful just for you. My first aid kit has actually helped other people a lot more than it's helped me. But somebody walks by and you see them limping a little and you're like, oh, you have a blister? Here, have a Band-Aid. And they're like, you know? You can be the hero. Your own superhero. Cosplay. On top of that, I have a few more things that I don't include. A notebook and a writing utensil. This is really good. At some conventions, they have the schedule posted online, and I like to print it off kind of small and just shove it in my notebook, because I can highlight that before I get to the convention, and I can make sure that I've got all my events planned out, and I can be all excited about it. I make checklists for my costumes to make sure that I don't forget pieces in hotel rooms. This has happened a few times. It's a little unfortunate. So I make checklists to make sure that I pack everything before I leave my house and to make sure that I take everything home. I also go to panels like this one, and I write down notes, you know, things that I feel like I should remember, information for all those new friends that I've met, all that other fun stuff. So a notebook comes in really handy for all of that. And then in the back of my notebook, I folded the back, if you fold the piece halfway up, fold the corners in, and then fold it up again and put 2 pieces of tape. It makes a little envelope, an origami envelope in the back. I put emergency money in there. It's separate from my wallet. I don't think I've spent that thing in like the past 2 years, so I'm pretty sure there's still a 10 in my wallet, which is enough to get a bus home, or enough to put into a payphone to call my family, or, you know, it's probably not enough to get anywhere with an Uber, but I could try. You can also throw in bus passes, things like that. Keep it separate from your wallet so you do not spend it. But when your friend does something really sweet, like steal your car and leave you abandoned at a convention for 3 days, come to Horror Stories for details, you start putting away a little bit to get home. Always plan on that. Other things that I include, the notebook, the pen, water bottles. How many of you have a water bottle right now? I like you. I like you, and I like you. When you go to a convention and you get dehydrated, chances are, if you pass out from dehydration, they take away your badge and you're not allowed back for your own health. There have been incidents at conventions where dehydration has played such a big role that entire portions of a hotel have been closed off. How many of you were at NandasCon when it was at the DTC? Any of you? Yeah? The stairwell to the 11 stories, they've got the tall part and the short part. The stairwell to the tall part has been closed off at the Denver Tech Center for conventions for a very long time, almost 10 years, because a girl passed out on the 6th floor from dehydration, fell down 2 flights of stairs, and they had to get the EMTs up 4 flights of stairs to get her down. It was bad news, so they closed it off. And then now they have the policy of taking away badges if you pass out from dehydration. They also have on-scene EMTs, which is really cool. But dehydration, the signs of dehydration: if your mouth is dry, you are dehydrated. If your face is flushed, you are dehydrated. If you are lightheaded, you are dehydrated. Everybody got that? Okay. Do not get dehydrated. There are water stations all over the hotel. And you can always get tap water from the bars and stuff like that. They usually give it to you for free.
And rooms.
And rooms. Rooms have water. And, you know, there's water fountains floating around. Just drink water. And be really careful when you're drinking soda all weekend. I know we all love soda. I love soda. I love soda. Sorry. I really like soda. But I do not drink it at conventions because soda causes dehydration. So don't do it at a con because you're already going to be dehydrated. I drink lemonade and tea, and I drink coffee in an IV. And I drink a lot of water. And then you could fill in your convention survival kit with other things. I have a pack of tissues available in mine because some people need tissues. And it's also really good for blotting lipstick. Like, this is really good for And I also have hand sanitizer. And hand sanitizer, we meet so many people, we touch so many doors, and almost every convention until I started using hand sanitizer, I'd go home and I'd get sick. And it's called the plague, the con plague, and if you catch it, you're miserable. So a little bit of hand sanitizer goes a long way, or just making sure that you wash your hands a little bit more frequently than normal. Other things that you can include, when I'm going to a convention that is a line con, where you're going to be sitting in lines almost the entire day, I bring a book, or I bring my video games, my little handheld, my 3DS, you know? So something to do when you're bored and sitting there. I also have all of my business cards in my Cosplay Survival Kit. I also have, in every single one of my Cosplay Survival Kits, these. These are Shout to Go wipes. They are stain removers, instant stain removers. I love Shout to Go wipes. You whip it open, you find a stain, you rub it on there, and then within 3 minutes it's gone, and then it dries really fast because it's alcohol based. So, Shout wipes. Also rather inexpensive at Walmart. Ooh, yeah, I love that. Sorry, I get really excited. Gesundheit, do you need a Kleenex? I have some.
No, she's good.
Okay.
You're making me nervous on the chair and your safety, and you do not look safe.
But I'm tall. I'm not moving too much, so I've done this many times. Plus, I know how to jump if I'm falling. So other things that I include, for women, products. That's all I'm going to say. For anybody, there's little travel packs of deodorant. You can either get one and use it yourself or throw it at people who smell bad. Always options for deodorant. One of my friends actually has like a little itty bitty spray bottle of Febreze that he brings, and he'll just like follow people around and give them a spritz or two. Magic Mix. How many of you have ever heard of Magic Mix? Magic Mix is an interesting invention. It is used on wigs to help detangle them. Magic Mix is 1 part fabric softener, 4 parts water, for a total of 5. And when you mix it together and you spray it on a wig, it helps synthetic fibers detangle, so you can brush out a really ratty wig with a little bit of Magic Mix. I've used mine on other people's wigs at conventions a lot, and it comes in handy for my long wigs. They start getting really ratty down here because they're flying around everywhere because I bounce too much. Magic Mix or 100% silicone spray comes in small bottles, works just as well as Magic Mix, but you pick that up at Home Depot or Lowe's. And silicone spray has less odor, but if you get unscented fabric softener, works just fine.
Actually, unscented is a scent.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
Says
Well-
that's allergic to it.
Oh no.
Both of them.
Fragrance free then.
Fragrance free.
Fragrance free is the kind that you should seek. Thank you for correcting me. So, what else was there? Yes, the survival kit in its entirety fits in 1 tote, including a water bottle, including everything that you bring. And when you are on the convention floor, it's really easy to just drop it and take pictures. I tie my badge to it sometimes when I'm being asked for lots and lots of pictures, like when I debut something new. And I know all of my friends and I know all of the photographers, and I'm like, they're gonna go ballistic. So then I'll tie my badge to the bag for a while. That way when people want pictures, I don't have to go, sure. I got it. It usually gets stuck on my bow. And then drop that, and then drop the bag, and then cry a little. If you can buy bags that match your costumes, you can put your Cosplay Survival Kit into them. I love this thing. It's amazing. It's like a bag of holding. It's a Tardis bag. I can fit so much stuff in here, and you wouldn't think it, but I can fit so much stuff in here. But there are little Mario mushroom one-up bags out there in the world. Steven Universe has the burger bag, so you know, it's a backpack that looks like a burger with like cheese and stuff. It's like really weird. It's really cute, but it's really weird. You know, stuffed animal bags, things like that. You can find bags of any sort. You can find bandanas of any sort. So you can customize it to match your cosplays specifically if you need to as well. And scissors is a good thing, but not a necessity. And now I'm going over the list in my head because my friend's computer is not here. 1 second. Okay, that's everything. I will have lots and lots of time for questions, answers about all kinds of things. I don't want it, you know, if you don't want to ask me something about the convention itself, totally cool with me. You can ask me anything. I don't care. And before we get to that, I think you guys would like some prizes. Yeah, are you guys ready for the prize?
Sure.
It is either going to be this gloriously nerdy bandana. Not really. It's pretty boring. It's got little wings. It's like eagles and flowers. You can either have this or one free print from my table. And I do have my prints. They're pictures of my face, and I still feel a little awkward selling them, but you can have one again. I've been a professional cosplayer for 3 years, and I still get a little giddy when people are like, "Oh my god, hi," and I'm like, "Oh my god, you know who I am." I only go everywhere. I'm losing my mind. So, for this bandana and or one picture of my face, what are 3 signs of dehydration? Yes.
Flushed face, dry mouth, and lightheadedness.
Bing! Bandana or picture? I like this. So, this is the question portion of my panel. Feel free to ask me any questions that you want. Feel free to ask me for details on my horror stories so that you don't have to come to that panel tomorrow. And feel free to ask me anything panel related or me related. I'm totally down for it. I'm 24 years old. I am a boy in a dress. And I have 37 piggy banks, and not a single one is a pink pig. Any other questions?
Why is it one a pink pig?
Because I can't find it.
Okay.
I've looked everywhere for a pink pig, a pink ceramic pig, and I just can't find one. But on my table I have Toothless, Darth Vader, R2-D2, and BB-8 piggy banks. And if you put dollars or change into them, it will go to the Children's Hospital. Oh, right. One more thing. Shameless plug for my sponsors, Epic Cosplay Wigs. I know, I saw you. Sorry. I'm sponsored by Epic Cosplay Wigs. They sell really nice, high-quality wigs. They are comparable to the Arta Silky Wig. 3rd largest wig retailers in the United States. And the more of you guys who say that I refer to you, the more wigs I get. Shameless plug. Yay. I also have a YouTube channel, but that's a relatively new thing. I think I only have 2 videos up on it, so if you want to YouTube, I'm still getting used to the YouTube thing. And how many of you guys have heard about the selfie contest this weekend? That's what I thought. If you take a selfie and you hashtag it Starfest 2016, you are entered to win on Facebook, Instagram, or Tumblr, or not Tumblr, Twitter, the birdie one. And if you hashtag Starfest 2016, you can win 2 tickets to the Ghostbusters movie premiere fancy place. Fancy! And you have until Sunday at noon to enter. So take a selfie with your friends or by yourself or whatever. You'll get 2 tickets and it'll be fun. Questions? My favorite food is cheese fries. Thank you for asking. Lots of cheese, smothered, like drowning.
Actual cheese or spicy marshmallow cheese?
Ooh, both. I don't really care. Cheese. Yes?
You actually eat during the weekend.
I do. I had to eat a kid's meal for lunch because I'm in a corset, so I can't eat too much. And that's how I fake these lovelies. It's an overbust corset. They're not actually there. But yes, I do eat, just not as much in this. Any other questions? Yes.
What were you cosplaying as with the spikes on your shoulder?
Goku from Sayuki, an old anime from the 90s. It's still my favorite. If you haven't heard of Sayuki, go find Sayuki. You will like it. It's a good one. So I do Son Goku from Sayuki, and I have my Nyoibo, and the staff comes apart in 3 pieces. It's accurate. I worked really hard on that. I hand make everything from head to toe. Why, these are Fruity Pebble boxes. Fruity Pebbles. Although my glue just came off. Ooh. It's okay, I have some at my table. I also have tape. I can't use this tape though, because I gotta go replace the bandana and sell it. So I'll just go ahead and stick that in my handy dandy bag. It was Son Goku. And I hand make everything. This is handmade, head to toe. Except my shoes. I didn't make my shoes. Yes.
What is your worst prop malfunction?
My worst prop malfunction. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna tell 2 really quick stories because I can't decide if this is a bad thing or a good thing. But I have a kitten. Her name is Minerva McGonagall. She's very helpful. So, I have a broom for Kiki from Kiki's delivery service. I made the street sweeper broom using a drill press and fake hay from Michael's. Yeah, it was Michael's. And so I made it, and while I'm trying to glue in these fibers, the cat thinks that's the best thing in the planet, and she still, I finally got it made, and she still attacks it and tries to make off with the hay at any chance she can get. And if I start moving the prop, she will literally wrap herself around the head of it. So my kitten is a really big prop malfunction. And the next worst prop malfunction I've ever had, I think, would be... No, see, Goku's staff was really fun, and then... I had a Captain America shield for my first rendition of this outfit, which was corset, a long corset. And the shield was plastic, and there was this handle stuck on the back of it with glue and tape, and it was a terrible idea. I don't have that shield anymore. It was terrible. It was really bad. And in my Legend of Zelda Zora armor, I did the Zora armor, and I had my shield with that one, and every time I flexed, this band on the shield would pop off, and I could not get that one to stick either. So it's mostly shield straps that I have problems with. Anybody else?
Why are you going to South Dakota?
There's a convention in South Dakota called SodacCon, and I'm a guest. I'm also going to Montana and Ohio and
why?
Milwaukee because they're paying me. And I'm going to Los Angeles and Texas and Boston. And I'm really excited to go to Boston because I'm going to go find some souvenir shop and buy a whole bunch of shirts that say Boston on it because I'm unhealthily obsessed with my dog. His name is Boston. He's a really cute baby. He's a big dog, but he's really cute.
What type?
He's a Greater Swiss Mountain Dog. It's a breed that nobody's ever heard of, but if you've heard of a Bernese Mountain Dog, it's like that, but with short hair. So he's big and black and white and tan all over, and he's a dope. He's the dumbest dog I've ever met. I love him. Anything else? Yes?
Okay, tips on wearing a corset during a con?
Yeah, I am in a corset all day today. And when I wear Ariel, I am in a corset all day with her. My tips for wearing corsets are when you eat meals, loosen it. And when you are, when it's starting to get uncomfortable and start digging into your side, you can't really, I guess you can kind of tell. Right here, this one likes to stab me because this is where my petticoats end and where the corset actually starts making contact with my flesh. I put Band-Aids on my skin where it tends to poke and rub so that, just like with your shoes, you don't end up with blisters or welts or uncomfortable and then you peel them off at the end of the day. And my last tip for wearing a corset is to breathe up here. Think about breathing with your shoulders, and you can take full deep breaths. So you can talk 2,000 miles a minute like me. Anything else? Should I jump up and down on the chair?
No.
Okay.
But if you fall, we're gonna laugh.
I'll go ahead and laugh. I deserve it if I fall. I donate all of my scrap to a foundation that makes quilts for the homeless. I have 2 cats, but one of them doesn't like me. So I never talk about her. Harry Potter's my favorite, but I'm also a huge Star Wars fan, and my dad is totally to blame for that. I have a collection of the original action figures and toys from the original releases of the Star Wars movies because my dad passed them on to me. This guy's cool. Yes?
Which do you feel is more important for a costume, or rather cosplay, accuracy or creativity?
Well, I guess it depends. For contests, and specifically for contests, accuracy matters. And people tend to get more excited when you are accurately portraying a character because they recognize you more. And the more you act like the character, the more excited they get. I cosplay an anime character called Honey Senpai from Ouran High School Host Club, and I can do his voice perfectly. And so people get really excited when I cosplay Honey Senpai because I do his voice and I, act like Honey Senpai. I cosplay Navi. Hey, listen! Hello, watch out! So in that case, accuracy gets people more excited. But creativity is also great. Like, I didn't want to do the full-on bodysuit for Captain America, but I also didn't want to do the Rockettes, because they're bowls. They are non-entities. They are on the stage long enough to dance, and then they don't matter anymore. So I decided to take an actual gown from the era. This cowl-style dress is actually from the late 40s, early 50s, was when it was popularized. And I turned it into a Captain America dress. So, make it work. Yeah, creativity is great, but accuracy is sometimes more valuable to people who want to be recognized. Anything else?
So you're
Yes.
doing different costumes every day of the convention?
I do different costumes every day for every convention. So I'm in Captain America today, and tomorrow I'm going to be the Grand Duchess Anastasia, in the yellow dress with the blue sash and the crowny crown. And that one's fun because I don't have to wear shoes if I don't want to. No one can tell. And then on Sunday, I believe I am either wearing Ariel or Frostfire Annie from League of Legends.
Please do that.
Do Annie? Okay, I'll do Annie.
Say something.
But yeah, and I sew at home. This is 100% of my job is cosplaying. I spend 11 hours every day when I'm not at a convention sewing. And I don't mind because I really like sewing. Yay. I like making stuff. I put 65 yards of ruffles on the bottom of this petticoat by hand. It was brutal, but it looks great. And that's all that matters. Yes?
What kind of sewing machine would you recommend for cosplay?
Well, actually, I have low-end machines. I have a $74 Brother sewing machine. It's a junker, but it gets the job done. And after I took it apart, it's really easy to fix. The cheap machines don't have lots of extra parts that you have to special order to fix them. So you can fix your machines at home. You can get it at Walmart. It's still $74. And on Black Friday, I think they're $50. So it's like they drop the price and stuff like that. They hold thread and they make stitches. Yes. I also have a Brother Serger, and my Serger was $300. And what a Serger does is, here you go, you can see it right here, makes seams with lots and lots of loops on them. These loops, and it's got a knife, it cuts it to make a perfectly straight seam, and it, up here I have them on both sides of this because they stretch. I like serged seams because they have that little bit of give. So this top part is made out of stretch so that if I don't want to wear the corset, I don't have to. So Sergers, once you start using one, you'll never go back. And they're $300, which is kind of an investment, but once you start using it, you will never go back. Anything else? Yeah.
One more question. When you do travel to other conventions out of state or so, what's the best way to pack your costumes?
That's a good question. So I have a really weird setup. I have a soft-sided suitcase and a hard-sided suitcase. And I pack my hard-sided suitcase with the things that are fragile. I pack it with my wigs, so my wigs don't get shifted too much. I pack it with my props, which all come apart into 3 or 4 pieces to fit in my suitcase. I specifically have my suitcase measured out so I can fit all of my props in them. And I pack those in that suitcase. And that's usually about it. That's usually all I pack. You know, pillowing with some pajama pants. And then in my soft-sided suitcase, I throw everything else. I throw in my gowns, and I throw in my shoes, and I throw in everything that can be squished a little on an airplane and survive. But designing your props to come apart is really important, and the hard-sided suitcase is expensive. But when you see all the little dents and scratches and battle weathering on your suitcase, you will be very grateful that you have one. They don't squish when they stack other things on top of it. So some of my more fragile things have managed to survive. I also stopped using certain materials that weren't working so well. So now I use fiberglass. It lasts. It's durable. Anybody else have any questions for me?
Is that Little Mermaid with legs?
Yeah, I wear her blue dress with the black corset on top, because that's what this is. It's a black corset under here. And the poofy and the big bow. Yeah, I wear that one. My wig is a bit tangled, so I was like, maybe Ariel, but probably not. Yeah, I'm going to wear Annie. I'm wearing Annie. She's a little toasty in Annie, but no corset. Anything else? Yes.
When you fly, do you have any trouble with parts, that the people that look at,
Yeah, the security.
Yeah, because we flew once to Indianapolis for a Star Wars convention, and we made a blaster rifle.
And they got all up in arms about the blaster rifle.
No, because we put half in one suitcase and
Oh.
half in another suitcase. So they didn't ever know they went together. But we were afraid they might. And I was wondering if you ever had problems like that.
Other cosplayers have had problems with that. I tend to make things with really foofy staffs and stuff like that, so I never have the hard... One second, I know you're there. I'm gonna remember you. I never have the weapons and things like that, but if you take a picture of the costume with the weapon, print it out on a piece of computer paper, and write, "This is part of a costume. This is what this is. This is the costume it goes with. These are the parts of this costume that are in this suitcase." Then put it on the top of your suitcase so it's the first thing they see when they open it. And then if they get to it, they're going to be like, oh, it's a costume piece. And that's what other professional cosplayers have started doing, and it's worked out really well for them. So print off a picture and write them a note. They also think it's really cool. Sometimes they ask us if they can keep them. Anybody else? Yeah.
I'll say mine was mostly answered for yes, put a note, but also
Put a note.
be aware that if they still think it's questionable, there is a place to pick it up, because they will take it. So
They'll take it and put it underneath
yeah.
so that you can't get to it, and then you can get it when you get there. It'll
Yeah.
be jettisoned out of their magic chutes.
I had a costume that was huge, and they took part of it away and put it underneath. Then they're like, you can come get that later.
Yep. Yep. Anything else? Yes.
Just a note, because you said you really like super glue, don't use it on cotton because it can catch fire.
I didn't know that.
It causes a thermodynamic reaction, it gets really hot and it can catch fire.
That's interesting.
To the same
And
extent it
We're
I'm
keeps
glad
the
you're
glue.
here. Don't light cotton on fire, guys. It's bad news. I've actually been doing, oh my gosh. I think it happens about 3 times a year. I go to conventions and the fire alarm ends up going off because of spray paint or super glue or things on fire. So Try not to set things on fire
Right.
or spray paint in enclosed spaces. Anything else? Any more questions? Yes,
Do you have a favorite costume?
I do.
What is it?
Oh, there you go. I answered your question. That's it. No, what is it? Okay, so my absolute favorite costume that I have ever been in my entire life. How many of you guys have seen the live action Cinderella before? I made her ball gown. It had a 5-layer organza skirt, and I bought Swarovski crystal rhinestones and hand sewed them onto that topmost layer. I hand glued 600 rhinestones into the hair, and I had the butterflies, and I was giving them away at Denver Comic-Con to little kids because I made them all detachable so I could pull them off and give them to small children. And it was my favorite costume. I had kids going, "Are you the real Cinderella?" And I was like, "Well, of course I am." And they were like, they were all super excited. I wore it to Denver Comic-Con to give away stuff to the children because that's a really good kids-friendly con, so there's always a lot of them there. And it was just, oh my gosh, I had 5 layers of fushi organza over a hoop skirt, over, on top of the hoop skirt was a 60-yard tulle petticoat that I made, and it was like out to here. It was huge and gorgeous, and I loved it. And I have really tiny feet. I wear a youth size 3, so I went to the Disney store. And I bought their little kids dress-up slippers from the movie. So I had screen-accurate slippers. It was great. It was good fun. I have a couple of prints of that one. So if you guys want to come by and take a peek.
So have you ever won a costume contest with any of these?
Yes, the Anastasia that I'm wearing tomorrow is one of my award-winning pieces. I've won 5 awards with her. I win a lot of awards for anime-based things because I do a lot of anime conventions. That's why I'm no longer allowed to compete except at Master's Class because I'm a professional and I tend to judge more often now. I'm judging the contest here tomorrow night. And that's why I'm going to South Dakota to judge their cosplay contest. And I'm going to like 18 cons this year. And I'm judging contests at most of them. I'm only attending 3 this year as an attendee, yes.
What's your favorite category to compete in? And if it's different, do you have a different favorite category to judge?
Yeah. I really enjoy judging beginners and intermediate because some of them, they're not as knowledgeable as the pros, which means they get really inventive. And I love that. I had this one guy, he did Sandman from DC, and he made his mask out of pop bottles and CDs. And I was like, "You did what?" And he's like, "Yeah, I didn't have anything else to make it with." And I was like, "You did what?" And he won my judge's choice because it was really cool. We had a Queen Amidala cosplayer, and she patterned the big orbs on her red dress off avocados. She took avocados. She went to the store and bought avocados to mold her thermoplastic over. And I was like, what? And she won craftsmanship for intermediate. But, the beginners and the intermediates, they don't know what they're supposed to. I've heard some people say that. But I think they get more creative because of it, so that's always fun. But my favorite one to compete in is Master's Class because it is always a challenge. There are always gorgeous costumes there for you to compete against.
I have a suggestion to make. We did a costume last year and we got the wrong colors, so one of the judges thought. But the things come in all different colors. So if you make a costume, make sure the only picture you give them has the color of the material that you use.
Yeah. Reference pictures do matter. What we judges really love to see. Some conventions don't do craftsmanship, like this one doesn't do craftsmanship, which means I don't have to sit in a tiny windowless room for 6 hours. I'm totally cool with that. But when you do craftsmanship judging, bring a lookbook. It can be on loose leaf notebook paper in a binder, or something like that, where you printed off the reference picture and you have a few progress photos printed out on like computer paper. They don't have to be high quality. But if you put them all in one place and it's in a book, we can look at the book and get a better idea of how you made it. when I make my lookbooks for my competition pieces, which I only do one competition piece a year now, because I get super detailed work, I'm actually doing, I keep making the joke that it's 800 miles of hand embroidery on my current piece, which is debuting at the end of April. And I'm fiberglassing my prop and getting way over the top with it. It's a freaking gown. It doesn't need to be as elaborate as I'm making it. But for that, I bought a $10 scrapbook at Michael's and some paper to put in it, and I'm going to put the pictures on the nice paper and then write on the back of the paper what each picture is about, so that I have a really nice lookbook and win lots of craftsmanship points. But if you bring references or if you have progress pictures, even if they're on your cell phone, judges really like that. So do that. Yes?
What do judges think of original creations and character costumes?
Most of the time, we think they're really cool, but we are not allowed to judge them. Some conventions have the rule where it has to be Japanese-based, or it has to be comic book or sci-fi related. Or, you know, you can't do original characters. So we don't get to judge them very often, but when we do, usually we find a way to throw somebody a prize for those. A lot of the time they get picked up as judges' choices because judges are like,
Because I read the instructions and I'm entered tomorrow.
yay!
And it says original characters allowed.
Yeah, I know you're gonna put you in a category, but original characters are allowed, and they're usually really fun. And we don't give out judges' choices because we don't judge craftsmanship here at Starfest. But performance is just as important, and as long as you flaunt it, we're gonna give you something, even if it's just a thumbs up. Anything else? Last chance.
So what is the definition of a professional cosplay versus an amateur or?
Professional cosplay, I view it as the term professional applies to someone who has done X number of hours, someone who does it for a living, or someone who makes part or whole of their income off of it. And with me, I considered myself a professional when 50% of my income was based on making costumes. And I was working my little part-time deli job. And I counted myself a professional then. I started getting invited to conventions. That was also a thing. Conventions pay me to come here. And so I don't have to pay them. And I like that a lot.
Self-designation.
Yeah, it's mostly self-designation. So you have to be really careful. There was an incident in Texas this year where somebody was calling themselves a professional cosplayer and they were very unprofessional. And they gave the con quite a bad time. And it did not end well. And then they found out that this person had fabricated their entire resume and stuff like that. But I apply for conventions. I have a portfolio and a resume and a cover letter. And it lists all of my things that I've been a guest at and all of my qualifications and my 7 panels that I have ready to go at any given time. And then my portfolio has 10 images in it. And then I send that to a convention. And all I ask in return is a badge, food, and a hotel if it's out of state.
And an airline ticket?
I usually pay for the airline tickets myself because it gets me more jobs. But I okay, you guys are gonna be the first people to know this. I'm allowed to announce it, but I haven't yet. I have bridged the gap. I am going to be a video game voice actor. I signed a contract with a company this week. Thank you. And when I'm a voice actor and no longer just a cosplay guest, because cosplay guests are usually ranked lower on the pecking order than voice actors and movie stars and stuff like that, you know, pretty reasonably, pretty understandably. And so I am going to be bridging that gap, and then I'm going to be asking for airline fare.
Upgrade the meals.
But yeah, usually I road trip to South Dakota because we do a lot of sightseeing along the way, and we stop in to see my grandma and stuff like that. She lives in Wyoming. I don't know why. And then I usually fly everywhere else. I'm flying to Los Angeles and Montana and Ohio. But a lot of the times, my airline fare is paid for then by Epic Cosplay Wigs, because whenever I have a weekend free, they pay for an airline ticket, and I go to a convention somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and I sit at a table and wear their wigs all weekend, and that's my job. sit there and wear wigs. I also film video tutorials for them. So my first one of those is debuting this next week. How to resize a lace interior wig. Shameless plug. All right, this is really it. This is really the last chance. Thank you.